Hey everybody, welcome to the 1947 Rise podcast, a podcast that helps India born, US trained Indians get integrated into the Indian technology ecosystem and inspires them to move back to India to build massive tech companies and or help enable the tech ecosystem. We do this by interviewing India born, US trained Indians who have moved back to India and built massive tech companies themselves and or helped enable the tech ecosystem. Prashant, I'm thrilled to have you on the show.
My pleasure, Shiva. Look forward to this conversation.
Prashant, would love for you to start by walking us through your journey from growing up in India to moving to the US and then moving back to India.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Delhi, West Delhi, to be precise. Then school was there, college was IIT Delhi, worked with Unilever thereafter across multiple roles and functions. And then 2005 went to Stanford for my MBA. and post that, that's actually the time I went. There was pretty much nothing called entrepreneurship in the popular imagination. There were some early trailblazers who had just started something, but it wasn't really an ecosystem thing. So it wasn't on my radar at least. Um, but post the Stanford experience and being in Silicon Valley, I think the the world view changed, the eyes opened a little more. Anyway, came back to work with a startup called Map My India, launched their first navigator here before going back to the US to spend a couple of years more in the valley with McKinsey doing consulting work. Primary reason being that while at that point startups and doing some tech innovation and all were exciting as concepts, I still had no idea what, and thought it would be good to just spend some time while I figure all of that out, and then make the play when ready. So 2009 November is when we finally, me and my co-founder Samir, we decided to move back to India and get into the entrepreneurial journey.
Got it. And what exactly made you move back to India, Prashant?
Oh, multiple reasons. I think firstly, I personally wanted to move back. India is personal comfort, family is here, and just before I think 2008, at one point I had come to India for a 2-day trip, and turned out that one of those days my dad was seriously unwell, and I spent the entire day and night at the hospital taking care of him, and that's kind of a watershed moment it was for me. That what am I doing away when I am needed here? My parents want to be close to that, so that was one reason. But I think that's not enough of a reason to move back. The second reason was there was just too much happening in India. The market was changing, entrepreneurship was taking off, different sectors were seeing activity. This entire ecosystem was bubbling, and overlay that on along with the fact that 2008, the US after the financial system collapsed there was in a slow situation from an economic perspective. So all the fun activity action was actually seemed to be in India. And in fact, I had a bunch of American classmates who moved to India to do their startups. And at one point, I was wondering what am I doing being away from the action when I clearly want to be in that place. And that's around that time, Samir and I got together. We started thinking if we want to give it a shot, we want to build something fundamentally interesting and important and do it in India. What could that story be? And after bouncing off of, and at McKinsey, I was doing largely healthcare. Samir had spent most of his time with technology and finance. So healthcare technology, we felt fundamentally needs to be um, a building block for healthcare in India over the next few years. And we decided let's just jump in and figure it out. So that's how that entire process happened.
Got it. And how did Healthkart initially come
Mhm.
about, and how was the journey in the beginning, and where are we today?
Oh, so in fact, the journey started before Healthcart. We started with a platform called Health Chakra, which was a practice management software for doctors. And we spent a good year and a half at it before realizing and getting convinced that that was not the right model that to scale. And that was also our view of what the ecosystem needs was also fundamentally evolving as we were going through that experience. And the biggest shift was that we felt um, that healthcare, for it to work, has to be patient centric. And most of the countries have the same problem. They have a healthcare system, whatever the country, people don't like it. So they don't like what they get. They feel it is suboptimal. They feel it is not a great experience, and it's strange in a way that the sector that makes people live better, live longer, takes care when they literally are in deep distress, and still they don't like that sector. They don't admire that sector. And one of the fundamental reasons we felt was that it's because the way it is constructed, its patient centricity is not there. All business models either put the payer, which is the insurance company, at the center, or the provider, which is the doctor, at the center. And the patient is kind of left as a recipient of whatever gets doled out. And as things were, patients were not appreciating that at all. In any part of the world, that's a consistent theme. And that's what, spending a year and a half on that doctor centric platform, we felt we were looking at it the wrong way. We have to put the patient in the center and then build a model with that in mind. So first thing we did was just built out the as Healthcart, a patient oriented e-commerce platform to access healthcare products. And a lot of that came from our interaction with patients and doctors in the clinic, where one of the fundamental issues people were having was around access and authenticity of healthcare products. And we saw the supply chain, saw a lot of pain points, and thought e-commerce is taking off. Maybe it's time to create a e-health store for India. That's kind of how Healthcart came about. And the evolution of Healthcart over a period of time was went much deeper into the nutrition category. So supplements, vitamins, and very quickly moved into our own private made in India brand, because we saw a huge space in that market, which was um, the market was dominated by US and Europe brands that were good quality but super expensive. And the Indian brands were just positioned as low cost and low quality. We felt there's a very clear space of a high quality Indian brand that is at par with the best in the world, but made for the Indian context. Indian digestive systems, Indian taste are actually very different than US and Europe for a lot of things. And we learned a lot of that through our digital platform. And that's how Healthcart over a period of time became a nutrition focused brands company, D2C brand, and multi-channel. So today it is around 150 physical stores. Our brand sell through all digital and physical retail, and through healthcart.com, of course. So that's the story of Healthcart. It's been more than 10 years and it continues to get stronger. It's the leading player in the nutrition space. However, 2015 is when I branched out to start 1mg.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. I mean, you guys are solving a very important problem, and that too at a scale, and really, helping India uh, think in a different way or reimagine how healthcare works. And yeah, I think recently Tata Digital acquired majority stake in 1mg. But Prashant, there's no such thing as overnight success. it's been a long journey. You've been grinding for the last 10, 11 years. Was there a time when you thought this was it? If so, how did you manage to overcome it?
Yeah, multiple times actually. And I think the first phase was like the most important phase, which is when we came with our doctor-centric platform, and it was a beautiful platform from a just teacher perspective. It could do everything that the doctor might have needed, but the reality was the doctors did not need it at all. There was no appreciation on that side. And from our perspective, if you look at it from our lens, both Samir and I, standard, typical middle class uh, Indian household, family of professionals, studied, got into IIT, got one of the good jobs out of campus, applied for MBA. I went to Stanford, he went to Harvard, I went to McKinsey, he went to UBS. Kind of things were very linear and straightforward. And it was very, and it was a history of kind of knowing what you want to get and just putting in the effort, and things were working out. So we were in that zone where we hadn't experienced things not working out in a major way. And here we land in the digital health ecosystem and pretty much fell flat. And it was fairly evident fairly early in the day that this model is not working. It still took us almost 10 months or so before we decided that, okay, this is, and in that time frame, we tried 5, 6 different things. We kept trying different things. Um, and however, it was fairly evident that this will not scale. This is not something that will work. And at that point, multiple times, the question we would ask each other was if we should just hang up our boots and go get jobs and get back into the normal grind. And we had run out of all our savings, if at all there were. And or we continue one more try. And I think that's where having the right co-founder is very, very important. When one person goes through a feeling of this is not worth it or not working out, the other's optimism kind of keeps you going. And I think it worked out. In some ways, we had committed ourselves that we are giving it a good 2 years no matter what. And we questioned it quite a few times, but at the end, we always kind of ended up with that we've committed a few years of our lives. Let's just keep trying, and maybe we'll land on something. And as it turned out, one of our potentially final attempts at yet another business model turned out to show some green shoots and got us excited that, okay, direct to consumer is the dimension we want to play.
Man, what a journey it has been, and what a great lesson for anyone who's listening to it. And I guess the takeaways is just have a sure self belief, be determined, and just keep doing it. Just don't leave. Just do it for long enough, and you'll just find the way. And Prashant, you moved back in 2009, and fast forward to today, 2021. If you were to move back to India today, what would you work on? How things have changed in India today, and what advice would you give to people who are thinking about making the move back to India?
Yeah, I think India is a land of opportunity, and it's the ecosystem is becoming more and more supportive. And at any point in time, the ecosystem looks competitive. So that's the other reality of India, that there are a lot of problems and there are a lot of people trying to solve those problems. And having said that, I think the approach and attitude has to be to solve a problem and stay with the problem for a while. Now, I think one of the other very important lesson from those 15 months of so-called failure or things not working out was actually that the other two companies came out of that only. So mostly what happens is that your incoming thesis does not work out. But the idea is to use that as the basis for continuous learning and iterating and evolving. because both Healthcart and 1mg came out of all the things that we learned by spending those 15 months with doctors and patients. And fundamentally, what had we come to, what did the problem we wanted to solve was to make healthcare easier and better for patients. And we had just thought of our business model as something which would be the right way. But after coming here, we learned that there was a better way to do it. And I think that is important. And that is something, anyone moving back now, what you have going for you is there's an evolved funding ecosystem. People are willing to work in startups or excited to work in startups. And the one thing that is consistent then and consistent now is people like to work and solve problems about for things that matter. So, as somebody wanting to come back from the US right now, have some perspective of the problem you want to solve, be open to learning, find a bunch of aligned folks who want to solve this problem with you. And the good news is that the fundamental blocks of the ecosystem are now very much in place. So you can pretty much hope to learn quickly, make mistakes faster, get access to some capital, friends, family, angel, because all of these are now reasonably evolved systems. So I would say if you want to move back, the biggest thing is pick the broad space you want to move back and an initial hypothesis, but keep it in mind that it will evolve as long as you are open, agile, and flexible about it.
Absolutely, totally agree with you. And Prashant, in the hindsight, what do you think you learned from your experience in the US and were able to implement it in India, and it ended up becoming valuable?
So I think all experiences are valuable and you learn something or the other. And definitely there are many things about the US experience that were fundamental to what uh, I have learned over the period of time. Now, I think one of the key things actually for me was I went at a time when this entire technology, innovation, entrepreneurship was not really a thing in my head. So first thing that I have to give credit to the US for is at least my mind was opened up to it. I got excited by it. I got bitten by the bug, as they say, and it did change how I look at what I want my life to be about and what I want to spend my time on. So I think that perspective part was the most important. Other than that, the other big contribution, of course, was healthcare, because getting to see the US healthcare system up close, and it is a very interesting system. Again, the way I look at it is that it is again a system with very deep sophistication and local optimization. Every individual aspect of that healthcare system is actually very sophisticated. However, put together, it's not a system that still works for most of the people there. But that's a different matter. But what you got to see was how healthcare is has evolved there in different dimensions. You pick an insurance company, a pharmacy, a pharma company, this, that, HMO, GPO, whatever. Everything is very, very sophisticated, optimized, and unlike the Indian ecosystem where we still had to see any of that efficiency come in. So I think I have to give credit to that system, and then working in the US. And I'm not saying that it won't happen in India, but I think the work ethic and the focus on getting things done on time, so they were fairly helpful and instrumental going ahead. And yes, building out the networks did not hurt at all. So I think all those things were positive. So the experience has been an integral part of my journey, and I think a bunch of things have helped get me where I am today.
Yeah, thanks for sharing this, Prashant. We'll switch gears here. We'll get to know you at a deeper level. Any life event, book, or a decision that changed your life?
Hmm. So I think the event would be when I was here and my dad was not well, which I already mentioned. So that was the event that triggered or rather accelerated the thought process that I just need to figure out a way to get back. Otherwise, it's in kind of in the back of the mind. It moved to the front. So that would be the event I think was fairly fundamental to me.
Got it. And mentors, you had early life advice that stayed with you. Who did you look up to growing up?
So mentors, yes, I haven't really have a role model per se, but a lot of different people you look up at different points or times in life. But in terms of mentors, there was this partner at McKinsey who I used to work closely with, one of the sharpest guys I know. And when I was taking the decision, he sat me down and showed me what life ahead would look. And I think I really appreciated that because he told me that for the first time in life, you're going to go through phases that so far you would not have gone through because you are embarking on a journey of this kind. And at a certain age, you'll start comparing where your peers in stable jobs are and where you are struggling. And you will enjoy a lot, but you are front ending a lot of your effort and but this is how it will look and this is what you need to focus on, learn these kind of things. So that I think would be uh, my mentor experience. Otherwise, role models, they at different points in time, different people.
Yeah, yeah. And Prashant, what do you struggle with? And do you have any frameworks that you use to overcome them?
So the biggest struggle is what not to do, and I think the single most important decision.
Mhm.
Um, and when you are deep in a space like healthcare, everything seems important and everything seems problems worth solving. But the reality is that not everything can be solved simultaneously. So, so what not to do now, are things that are the constant grapples. I think the other big part that has been, and I think it's been reasonably decent on an aggregate basis, is how to let go. Because as you grow the organization, as you grow the teams, as you need to build out the entire leadership system of the business, a lot of things that you were really good at, you need to let go. And once you let go, you need to empower the person. So it should not be like letting go, but still being driving from the back seat. So I think those are important things to do. And I believe fairly decent in that aspect now.
Got it. And I'll ask you last few questions. If you could have dinner with anyone in the world, who would that person be and why?
Hmm. Who would that person be? Why? Uh,
Don't name Shiva.
oh, no, this is an interesting question. And just thinking it might be a an Elon Musk kind of a person, just because I'm not necessarily a huge fan, but I'm very curious how he thinks
Yeah.
and how that mind works. And so I think that could be one dinner that would be interesting. Um, or or otherwise, I may go Hollywood just for fun.
No, you're absolutely right. I don't know. Who knows how his brain works and how he's able to do
Yeah.
so many things at once. And Prashant, we know you, for 1mg. What do your friends know you for?
Uh, I I think I am uh, a very I have a very deep but a small uh, set of friends. I'm an introvert by nature. They know me as a quiet person uh, and a reliable person. So I'm always there for them. So I think uh, with my friends, it's pretty much. a very deep one-on-one relationship with all of them, and it's I'm not the kind of person who's the life of a party. I'm the guy who's standing in the corner having one-on-one conversations. So that's who I am.
Prashant, thank you so much. That was so good. Thank you for sharing with us your journey. From growing up in India to moving to US and then coming back and then really building a spectacular company, which is almost a verb now. It's a household name, 1mg. Almost everyone knows about it. And also sharing your valuable experiences, your failures, and yeah, thank you so much. I'm sure this is going to help a lot of people who are thinking about moving back to India, and it will help them make a better decision.
I enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for having me, and look forward to hearing other podcasts also that you record.